2, marker.
The media in Hollywood, everything we do, we set trends.
We can overcome social barriers.
There's no denying that people aren't influenced by what they see in media.
When you can see someone that has the same jersey that you have on, you root for that team.
There's virtually no people with disabilities present, in the kind of fabric of the entertainment world. And that wallpaper is really our collective social wallpaper, right? It's how we see ourselves.
Nobody with disability in the whole movie?
I think a lot of people are afraid of disability.
They only want to hear music that they know, that they're familiar with. And sometimes we ain't that song.
Difference is a part of life.
Everyone has to be represented.
If you want your film to look realistic, perhaps you should put someone with a disability in it.
If society got its ideas about people with disabilities from film and TV, they would think that we're either pathetic or super people.
I may speak differently, but it doesn't mean I'm different than you.
You just try to live your life and get through it like everyone else.
Do I think there's still discrimination in Hollywood? Yes.
Why not have it be a woman? Why not have it be a disabled character? Why not have a female director?
If you look at our society, we're still learning about everybody.
There is so much more that I believe that media can do to penetrate people's hearts, to change them, to inspire them to be all that they can be.
This woman is gold. I mean, she really is a triple threat. Editor, screenwriter, director. She produces. She's the director of the award-winning, star-studded feature, Cinemability, The Art of Inclusion. Co-founder of Gold Pictures, Jenni Gold. Jenni Gold.
Hey, thank you. I love that intro. You have to intro me everywhere I go now.
Jenni Gold. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I love that background. It's so you.
I thought it was fun.
I'm going to start with a question of joy. What brings you most joy in life?
Oh, wow. It was funny because I was on a Clubhouse call last night and people were asking like big questions like that to somebody else. And I was like, wow, those are hard questions. They don't seem hard, but they are sometimes because you got to like really want to, okay, wait, because I've always practiced like what noise do you hate, like the ones that used to be on that show.
Yeah
it brings me joy. My loved ones, family and friends, and professionally I love hearing the audience react to a film that I've done, sitting in the back of the theater and hearing them either just be really quiet because they're listening or applaud or laugh. Love getting those laughs and just hearing them react to something that I created is a big source of joy. Even though Jeff would say, why are you sitting? I mean, you've seen the film 1,000,000 times. Why don't we just go get something to eat while they're watching it and we'll come back after? And I'm like, I want to hear, because different crowds in different towns react differently.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is fun to travel the world with all these different voices and emotions. By the way, I'm going to throw out a name. See what comes to your mind. Jeff Maynard.
That gives me joy. That's my soulmate, my better half, the yin to my yang, without whom I would be nothing. So,
how long have you worked together?
We started shortly after we met. We ended up working together in radio, and I was a board op, and he was he started after me, and then ended up being the general manager, just like kind of like excelling really fast. and it was sort of like KRP in Cincinnati. We would, have the radio station to ourselves on the weekend, and it was crazy, but it was fun. So that's when we first started, and then through film school, he would produce the stuff that I was directing. So he had a regular job working for a motorhome rental company, Cruise America, and he was the regional director of the Southeast United States, and so I was the only student filmmaker that had motorhomes on my set because,
I love it. It's those connections we have, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it's good. It's funny because a lot of times we don't like hiring people who are in a relationship because they might be fighting or we don't know how they're going to get along, even though we are working together all the time. So it's sort of like we know we can do it, but we're not sure if everyone can do it. So a lot of people say it's very difficult, but we know to trust each other.
Well, I love that when that soulmate comes around and you can work together and create together.
Yeah, how fun is that, right?
When did the spark start for you, the directing, the entertainment? I know you went to film school, but it started before that.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a private Christian school in Miami that was a basically college prep. It didn't have any real art or television type stuff. But even then, there was a project that that I did my first film in eighth in I don't know what grade would it have been. Must have been like seventh or eighth grade. A little film where we did the 10 Commandments, and I did them in our backyard because we had horses and donkeys. And so even though we're in Miami, I know it sounds weird, but we had a little mini farm in South Miami around Kendall. And so I had Egypt, so,
wow.
And my pool was all, it turned green. So it looked like the Nile. So it was perfect. So we did special effects where we turned, the Nile to blood. And, we had all this really cool stuff on 8mm, and I was like the director. And it's the first time I got sent to the principal's office because we were supposed to shoot one day at school, and it was a substitute teacher, and who wouldn't let us go. And I got all like, "Hey, wait a minute, we're supposed to go." And they sent me to the principal with my cohorts in the film, and which I thought was kind of funny. Which kind of leads up to something like back in film school, a professional said about me once, which I heard about, which I thought was a hoot. He said, "Don't get between Jenni and her film," and it's kind of true. So I like that.
What happened between you and the principal? Did he say can't do it?
Oh, they just gave us the talking to and let us go. It was like stupid. Just three girls that they like, "Oh, you shouldn't be like that," and then they let us go. It was like no big deal. But yeah, and we ended up finishing the film. And the funny thing about it is that thank God it got lost, because I think it'd be really embarrassing. Because I also played Pharaoh because I had the wheelchair, right? So I had the throne. So it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
And my photographer was a guy who owned the camera, and he
was he also in 7 or 8?
You mean 8th grade?
Yeah, 8th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And apparently in Hurricane Andrew, it was in their attic and got blown away. So the film is lost forever. It's never to be found again. And the funny thing is, it was for a Christian, school, and I did the credits on a toilet paper roll. We like rolled them out, like wrote on the toilet paper, then rolled it up and then pulled it out, which I thought was funny and clever to make a roll. But apparently they didn't like that very much. So.
Why? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, so my first film was actually the 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments with credits on toilet paper.
Yep, that was it.
I want to see that, like, red blood and.
Well, what we did was we had horses, so we had donkeys, so we could have the people, with the donkeys leaving, and then we had horse, buckets for them to drink out of. So we food colored that and then cut from the green pool to the and it's cutting on film, on 8 mm is really tricky.
Yeah.
But even before that, it would have to be the in front of the camera work and that I did for the Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon. So that's what got me seeing production, seeing real, camera work and real camera people, um, and being a part of the storytelling, and then doing my own, and then transferring to another school, which had a radio television department. So then I could start doing my own productions and learn editing equipment and cameras, and so that was good. And that's when I wanted to go to UCLA. I'm like, wait a minute, this is gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
But I was living in Florida, so going across country was a big deal. And then went to college, University of Central Florida, met Jeff, and we worked in radio for a while, and did my first feature, and then came out here after college.
Now, was it your first feature you became part of the Directors Guild of
I
America?
did. Yep. It was an action film called Ready, Willing, Able, which is currently available on Prime, believe it or not.
Oh, this is great. Okay.
Yeah,
I know what I'm
yeah.
going to watch tonight.
No, it's embarrassing. Yeah, it's a long time ago. It was not a good writing sample. I did it because, I had a stunt team that wanted to prove what they could do, and I wanted to come to Hollywood and show what I could do. Variety said Gold can get bang for her buck, which I thought was pretty good way of entering Hollywood. The second half of the quote was for a B actioner, which I didn't like, but is true. Because the stunt team would go, "Hey, we have a jet ski," and I go, "Okay," and I'd ride in a jet ski. So it was very ambitious for the amount of money that we had. And but back then, you didn't have digital cameras. This was all film, 35 millimeter. So you're processing, you're developing, you're printing, you're coloring all in the lab. There's a lot of expense related to that. Plus, we did an ultralight chasing a semi truck. We had fire stunts. We had high falls. So yeah, it was ambitious.
Wow.
And guess who starred in it?
Who?
Somebody who I think you know or knew. Did you know Christopher Templeton? Chris?
Yeah.
She was my star. She was amazing in it. She was great. I miss her. We became negotiating with her agent was like, I'm still fresh out of film school, right? I had 2 award-winning short films in film school. One got a student Emmy. And so with the Emmy, now I had the clout to raise the money for a feature, right? And I wanted to cast, well, Jeff said, you really need to, he'd heard about the story about a cat burglar who was a wheelchair user and got found out because they found the treads on their tires matched.
Right.
And he said, "That's a great story. You should do it." And I said, "Yeah, but I need something where the community will get behind it because we're doing this low budget thing. It can't be an anti-hero. It's got to be more of a hero."
Right.
So, but I wanted to do action, and he said, "How about this idea?" And we kind of came up with Ready, Willing, and Able, which is about a female CIA agent who gets hurt in a mission and then wants to continue her career, but they don't want her to. So she puts together her own ragtag team of misfits that save the day. So that was Chris. And what was great about her is that she could stand. So we could, fake her prior to her injury and then have her in the wheelchair the rest of the time. But the Alan Toy will tell a funny story that when I called out here, it was early on in the media access office before Gail, and I was getting the runaround. Finally, someone gave me Alan's number, and I told Alan I was looking for a female because I knew enough. And this is funny because back then, 1997, 98, my crew was diverse. We had a gaffer who had one leg. We had, ethnic diversity all over. We had a woman on the camera crew. I mean, things that people are talking about now. I didn't think about it. I just got the best people for the thing that were available.
Right.
And I didn't think it was weird or I was being inclusive. I just did it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at because we were thinking about doing like a, anniversary DVD of it, with some of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, we got a lot of great behind the scenes stuff, but, I was like, wait a minute, we're like totally diverse and we weren't even like trying,
Behind the scenes could be a movie in itself.
yeah. Oh, it was fun because we did have a lot of money. It was sort of like a film camp.
Yeah.
We found a location that had actual hotel rooms, so that's where Chris and some of the crew stayed. And
Right.
it was at night. The guys to blow off steam would play nighttime golf, just try to see how far they could hit a ball and hear where it went, and while they were drinking, and it was just fun, and Chris had a great time, and we really bonded. But when I was first casting, and I knew I wanted somebody who really had had a disability for the part. I knew enough that that's the way it should be, if possible. So I get a hold of Alan Toy, and he's like, "Oh, it couldn't be a guy, could it?" And we have an interview actually where he laughs and remembers doing that, and I said, "Well, I really want a woman," and he goes, "Okay, well, you gotta call Chris." And he was like, "Yeah," he tried to talk me out of the job, and then I had to talk to her agent or manager, and I'm like still a kid, so like sweating on the other end of the phone, and trying to make the deal, and got it settled pretty easily, and then we became really fast friends with Chris, and when we came out to Los Angeles to post the film, and then eventually decided we have to stay. I mean, this is where we have to be. She was a great help, and showing us the ropes, and she introduced us to our good friend Robert David Hall. He came to our screening at the American Film Market at AFM in Santa Monica.
Right.
We were screening Ready, Willing, Able there, and we did we did a screening on Hermosa Beach. We were the opening night film, and we had an actual streaker, which was awesome. I love that, and
it was your version of the Oscars.
Yeah, it was a good first film.
Now,
it got me in the DGA.
It got you in the DGA. If someone was going to, they possibly have seen your wonderful documentary, Cinemability, but let's say there was another film that they wanted. Let's say, what film should I see of Jenni Gold's? What would you say?
The next one that I make.
I love it.
Yeah, because I haven't had that many. I saw Jodie Foster speak not recently, because nothing's recent, right? Because we've had a pandemic. But prior to the pandemic, I was at the DGA, and Jodie Foster was there speaking. And I think she's only directed like 4 films. And that night, I felt really good about my career, because I'm like, oh, well, I've done 3. Heck, that's not so bad,
It's true. Streisand's only done 3.
See? But, and they, look at them. I mean, well, Jodie, I mean, she was a child actress. She had every connection in the world, and she's brilliant. And not that Barbara, oh my gosh, she could do whatever she wanted.
Right.
So I guess, I mean, it is tough for women directors. I know that, but shoot, these women should be able to do it if anybody can.
Right.
And maybe they just didn't find the material that they wanted to do. I kind of, I want to do more than I've done. So hopefully we'll get some more.
Well, you're working on a project now, right? That's hopefully coming out soon. What, Roach?
Yeah, it's been a long journey because of all the visual effects and the delays and the pandemic and everything that got in the way. But we're getting closer now, much closer. So, maybe, timing it's God's timing. So maybe it's going to come out when the timing is right in 21 or 22. So
do you find that sometimes with the films that you've done, that sometimes they don't come out when you think they quote should, but when they do come out, it's like, oh, this was the perfect time?
Well, yeah. Or, even with Cinemability, we worked on it for not full time, but because there's so many people, you had to, kind of keep gathering. And over those 10 years, the world caught up to us because we were ahead of it. Nobody was still, even today, they're just now starting to include disability in the diversity discussions.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this year, the Oscar for the first time had a ramp. Not that anybody was nominated before, but still, it's sort of like sometimes you're ahead of the curve. And for Roach, a lot of our talent are doing really well and becoming bigger names. So it's only good for everyone when it comes out.
Yeah. Going to Cinemability, how was that project? How is something that you're working on for 10 years? Do you ever go, oh, when will I ever finish? Or are you going, okay, it's going to happen? What goes through your mind?
All of that. and every now and then Jeff will say, hey, when you do Cinemability, a sequel, I'm like, no, never. Although right now I am talking to people about doing the book version of it, which would allow me to update it to current films and things like that and shows, which would be a good thing. Plus, it would be a permanent, something to accompany it.
Oh, that'd be great. And it would bring the movie back into the spotlight again.
Well, the movie right now, it just got chosen by the U.S. State Department to be in the American Film Showcase. So it's traveling the world right now. Normally, they take the filmmakers and you get to travel with it. But because of the current situation, everything's been remote, which is fine. So I screened and did a speech kind of like this in Prague. And that was fun. And it's I don't know where it's going next, but yeah, they're taking it around to U.S. embassies around the world.
Wow. Well, I remember when you had that big event at Universal, not Universal, Paramount. And it was just, I mean, sitting there watching it, it's just a stunning piece. It really is.
Thanks. Yeah, we've done some really good ones. We did the ones at ArcLight. I'm Cinerama. I'm dying that they're not. And I gotta come back somehow. I love that theater. The ArcLight was the best in town.
I heard they're in talks, but I heard that through the Facebook chatter.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's true because I still have their picture up on my thing because it was great. We screened there twice.
Yeah.
With once with the Gina Davis crew and everybody there, and then once with SAG and Paris Barkley, and everyone came out, and it was really cool. I love those 500 seat theaters. We did a great one in Emory up by you guys, and the San Francisco audience was amazing. It was the first time I was worried that the fire marshal would shut us down because there were people in the aisles. It was so crowded. I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. But it was great because folks in Berkeley are very supportive of the cause. So it was a good time. But yeah, I mean, it's like that Energizer Bunny. It keeps going and going. We knew that it was kind of like a Christmas movie because every employment disabled month in October it kind of got attention. We just did a screening with Arizona State University, and other universities are always interested in doing stuff with it. We did one at Duke University prior when we did the thing at TCM. So and I'm still talking to TCM about maybe doing some more stuff.
Oh, that would be well. It's such a I feel it is a piece that has really cracked open the door and opened the door for a lot of other things to happen. It's interesting how that happens. How you go for it and it doesn't happen exactly when you want it to, but it
Well,
does
it
come out.
hasn't been the big splash that we wanted, you know? Of
Right.
course, you want the big thing where it's like everyone's talking about it. It's like, yeah, yeah. Instead, it's been the slow burn that won't ever go out, which is okay. It's not as much fun, maybe,
Right.
and not the big, you know, deal that you thought it could be. But it's just that not enough people know about it. If there's, you know, 20% of the population have some sort of disability, and then, you know, their friends and families and whether, you know, whatever, we're not reaching them enough because enough people haven't seen it yet. But we're about to, you know, make some further steps, and at some point we'll release it for free. And then maybe that'll help once it does its final round. You know, it's hopefully it'll get more word of mouth and people will go seek it out because they enjoy it once they see it. And it's still 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's good.
What would you say? I mean, we have, of course, the Performing Arts Studio West here. We have Meet the Biz. We have the YouTube world. To a director who's just starting, just getting out there, what advice would you give that person?
Keep making stuff. Don't stop, you know. Find, you know, nowadays you can do it on your iPhone and it's 4K, you know, I mean, there's no excuses where before we had to have 35mm cameras and, you know, labs to develop, and it was very prohibitive. But, you know, write or find a writer who you can work with and get material and shoot it. You know, practice your craft because that's the only way you'll get great art, you know, is to keep practicing.